Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, so the reason I wanted to have you on is not only are you an incredible coach for so many of our students, but I think the future of executive function work is learning through experiences. Right now, we do everything through school.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the experiential executive function work is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, you created one of our most impactful programs,
Mm-hmm.
most popular programs we've ever seen. And that's doing executive function work through Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
What inspired you to create that program?
I was inspired through the work with my students. I was seeing a couple gaps. There were some students that had amazing grades, but they were missing the executive function piece at home through routines, through social interactions, through group decisions, through frustrations. I saw that there was a really big gap in that, and I also am a big believer that experiences shape us in life. One of the big things that really solidified this idea for me was not only the culture that I come from, where children are always embedded in everything that we do. From a young age, children are given a lot of responsibilities and not much direction. And so coming from a culture like that and seeing the gap here, that is where I saw it in a lot of my sessions. And that's honestly where D&D came in for me. It's a tabletop role-playing game that naturally has a lot of structure that can provide a lot of executive function naturally. Trying to think.
No, I like that.
Okay.
That's great. I always tell people when I was in Italy, I missed my train from Florence to Rome, and I had more executive function development in that 30 minutes than like my entire college career combined, right? Like I was like, I didn't speak the language, I had to figure everything out, and I hear that's what you're speaking to, and often we overschedule kids, and by doing so,
absolutely,
we rob them of some of this unknowing, and that's where a lot of the good executive function development happens.
Absolutely, and that's exactly where D&D comes in. I'm providing uncertainty in a safe space where they're able to take risks, where they're able to make those decisions hands-on, where they're able to navigate their EF skills live while under emotional pressure in the game.
Yeah, so walk me through that. So what does the student comes in,
yes,
and for those of us like myself who are unfamiliar with a lot of D&D, like please walk me through how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. D&D, like I said, is a tabletop role-playing game where students create characters and they are able to play through their characters. So not only are they playing through characters, but they're also playing around with different identities, personalities, voices, and are allowed to explore in a way where they're not graded, they're not on a schedule, and there is no boundaries of what they can do in game, which I think provides a perfect opportunity for them to be their true selves and to not have to be guided through every single piece of it. I've had multiple situations where they have to negotiate, they have to work as a team, and every decision that they make affects everyone in the group.
I think that's a really important piece because school feels like a single player game most of the time.
Yes, absolutely. With grades, with teachers constantly guiding, with teachers constantly giving instructions. But my belief is, what if we took that all away and just allowed the student to be as creative as possible without boundaries? That is where I think the secret sauce is for executive function.
Interesting. And do you think, for those of us who are achievement driven,
yeah,
right? Because I can see a lot of parents right now, like, that's amazing, but I also want my student to get into college, right?
Absolutely.
Do you see those skills transfer?
Absolutely. I had a situation with a student where their parents let me in, and he had a lot of frustrations in school. Those same frustrations actually showed up in our D&D session, and I was able to notice that due to parent communication. As soon as I saw those frustrations come up, I was able to pause the game, give him a movement break, and then sit with the student for 3 minutes, teach them a little bit of box breathing, and then also ask them questions, awareness questions of themselves, metacognition of, hey, how are you feeling? Why are we frustrated right now? How is your body feeling? What do we need to do to help you come back to the group? So by doing that, the student was able to rejoin the group and that behavior in school was not seen again. Now, that's not due to the game. It's due to the fact that we were able to, in the moment, deal with that emotion and also process it and come back regulated. And that is something that is beyond what school can offer, is regulation in college. What happens if they have tests that are stressful? Do they have the tools that they need to regulate and come back to it? There's a whole other aspect of college that's not just academics, it's also handling the emotional side of it, which I think D&D provides beautifully.
That is so freaking cool. Yeah, I love that, because one of the things I've always struggled with is we know our kids can often be black and white, specifically with ADHD.
Absolutely.
Like if we give them a worksheet on how to fill out a planner, it's so irrelevant to them that even if they do the worksheet well, like it's not, the skill's not going to transfer.
Exactly.
And so it sounds like a lot of these skills are transferring in a safe environment.
In a safe environment, and it can transfer to any other environment. And I think that is most important. See, what we do in our sessions is amazing. We teach them planning, we teach them organization, we teach them everything. But if they can produce those skills live by themselves, that is where we want them to be. That is what we want. That is where it can transfer to any part of their life, whether that's college, whether that's their first job, whether that's even walking into a dealership and being able to negotiate. Those are all things that I'm able to produce live in a D&D session.
Yeah, so I want to go a step deeper. In these sessions, you have 4 to 5 students.
Yes, about 5.
And then we have a leader of the group.
Yes.
And then you're playing the game.
Yes.
Do you have specific stopping points, or what does that look like? Do you just wait till something comes up? Like, how does this play out?
So we usually play for an hour, and for about 15 minutes, I give them a movement break regardless. If I notice a student shut down or is not participating as much, even though they are pretty extroverted, that's where I decide to pause the game. I'm actively watching each of the students and their faces and how they're reacting, how they're communicating with each other, how they're negotiating. If things are getting too heated, that's where I step in and I say, hey, what are some solutions that we're not seeing here? And then I provide some other avenues for them to decide on. Especially if they're so stuck, like you said, that black and white thinking on one thing to do, and then you have another student that's, well, my idea is better than yours. Well, and the whole point of this game is for them to collaborate. And if they're not collaborating, we can't get as far as we need to. So the whole point of them coming together, the game can't happen if they're all not in it, if they're all not working together, if they're all... So, like I said, we go for an hour as far as we can. Now, I have a lot of neurodivergent students. I'm also neurodivergent, so noticing if everyone needs a break, it doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 30 minutes, depending on the night. Every week is different because we're not robots, right? Everyone has something going on, so if we need 15-minute intervals of playing, that's fine. If we need every 30 minutes, that's fine, but it's really what's best for them and what they need in order to have the game continue.
Yeah, it's so cool. Do you feel like your engagement's pretty high?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a high cognitive engagement.
I feel like that was a softball question. Because when I walk past, it's like such a different environment than you see our kids typically tuned out in school or in even like one-on-one therapy or one-on-one coaching sessions. It just feels they get so deep into it you can really work on these skills.
Absolutely.
It's a way of gamifying it, but not on a screen.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to do a little lightning round with you because you are, you're one of the rare people who understand D&D and executive function.
Yeah,
so I want to go through different EF skills with you, different executive function skills, and I want to see how they kind of play out in your session.
Yeah.
You already spoke to emotional regulation, which, by the way, is a key indicator of procrastination, which we're all struggling with right now. Is there anything else that comes to mind in your session of how D&D can help improve task initiation?
Yeah, absolutely. Organization is the biggest one that comes. All the students are responsible for their character sheets, so they have to figure out a way to keep them once a week and bring them back safely without losing them. That in itself, some students struggle with that, others don't. But the task initiation there is keeping it in the same folder every week and bringing it back and opening it up. They also take notes throughout the session. Those are notes that they have to come back to. That is a requirement that I have in all my sessions, where they have to write down notes to keep that task initiation going. And what I explain to my students also is there's something called cognitive load. When we have too much of cognitive load in our heads, that is hard to start things. So the more that we can keep stuff on like a notepad, the more we can keep things on a notepad or have something else where we're dumping our cognitive load, the easier it is to actually start a task when you have the bullet points of, okay, this is what I'm starting with. And that's the key detail when I'm starting my sessions with them at D&D is, okay, everyone look at your papers. At the top of your bullet point, what is the last thing that you wrote? What is the last thing that we need to start on? And I have them start the session. I have them start in their characters in the last place that we left off. So we're working on memory, planning in the sense that they have to plan with a certain amount of materials for the session. They have to plan out what their characters are going to be using for that week, and how many resources. There are unlimited resources in the game. Time management. A lot of the sessions that we do are time managed. I set alarms. They have 2 minutes to decide as a group what they're going to do. And if they don't decide, there's going to be consequences, natural consequences in the game. So I went over organization, time management, planning.
I was going to go lightning round with you, and you're already knocking them all out. But it's great because we know they all tie together, right? So if you're working on one, often you're working on others as well. I really, really like how you did talk about working memory and how you talked about decision fatigue, cognitive load, however we want to phrase it, because we get so much resistance from having students get things out of their head and putting it onto a piece of paper, especially with our highly intelligent kids. Like, they want to keep everything in their head. And the fact that they're finding a way to get that out is just powerful, and it's a great lesson.
Absolutely. And I'm even seeing that transfer into their planners, into their weekly plans at school. They'll come to me and be like, well, this is what I'm working on. And sometimes it's a mini coaching session before D&D because a lot of them will get there 30 minutes before the session starts just to sit there and chat. And it's actually quite a beautiful social connection that I'm seeing with a lot of the group within the group. But with them showing up a little bit earlier, they'll talk to me about school and they'll be like, well, this is stressing me out. And then I'll even say, does anyone have any ideas on how to solve this? So I'm basically having them come up with EF solutions for each other because they have such a good connection in the group. They've all been together since, I think, October to now. So it's been on a weekly basis, yeah.
And it seems, I know growing up, getting feedback felt highly personal. It seems like when you do it through a game setting,
it's not the same.
Yeah, you remove that. You remove that piece of it.
Absolutely. And they don't even see it as building EF skills. They just see it as having fun, but they don't realize that they're building EF skills, which is the best part about it.
That's
so
the beauty,
right? Yeah. And so...
What about impulse control?
Oh, that is a major one in game.
Yeah.
That is something that I've been working on with everyone because everyone has brilliant ideas. They're all talking to me at once. And as a DM, if you have somebody, all 5 students all shouting at you at once, that is just not sustainable, right? So that is a great piece to work on. And that is something that we have been doing actively where we take turns. Or if someone blurts something out, I'm like, oh, wait, your idea is amazing. But how about we'll go in a circle first. Let's all put in our piece of ideas. The other thing I've done too is have them write down their ideas and then we negotiate ideas, see how we can put everything together. There's a lot of impulse in wanting to, because there's a lot of temptations in D&D. For example, I'll have puzzles where they have to go through a maze and there's temptations like, oh, here's this like cute little rabbit. Is it a cute little rabbit? Do you want to go for it? Are you sure? And those are questions that I can ask them. And they're like, yeah, I'll go for it. And then boom, consequences. So there's natural consequences to each thing if one of the group, like I said, one group decision turns into consequences for everybody. So let's say somebody goes out and wants to go rescue a bunny. That bunny actually has rabies. and it was a meal for this monster. And now this monster's coming after you guys. So they have to pause, make a decision as a group before they continue. And they have to really think about all of the areas outside of that decision of like, okay, what are the consequences if I do this? Okay, how does this affect my group mates? Okay, if I act out of impulse, what will this do for me? And it works every time where I'm able to stop them and be like, are you sure you want to do that? And they see kind of a smirk on my face and they're like, I don't think I'm going to do that.
Well, and I love the group dynamic too, because it's almost like positive peer pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
Like often our students are the ones who do struggle socially,
mm-hmm.
but by removing the making it not feel so
mm-hmm.
like an attack on our character, and the group dynamic seems to have a nice
flow to it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The one I'm fascinated with, and you already spoke to it slightly, but I want to get a deeper dive, is emotional regulation. We know emotional regulation is highly tied to procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
So you spoke a little bit about emotional regulation. Can you go a little bit deeper into how this supports with that?
How it connects to D&D?
Yeah. So how the D&D group supports emotional regulation?
Oh, how the group as a whole?
Yeah.
That is an interesting question. So they all do, when they're talking and negotiating, the main thing is making sure everyone's voices are heard. And sometimes the group doesn't realize when another student's withdrawing. That is cue for me that it's time to take a break for everyone and for me to do a one-on-one with the student. For example, one of my students, she thought her ideas were stupid. She was completely shut down, and when I asked her, hey, what's going on, after I sent everyone for a break, she said, oh, it's nothing, like, it's fine. I'm like, no, you're super extroverted, like, what happened? Like, I noticed that, like, you're kind of withdrawing. And she was like, well, I think everyone thinks my ideas are stupid. I was like, well, why do you think that? And she's like, well, no one said anything about it. And so that's where I thought that my ideas weren't as important as everyone else's. And I was like, no, I was listening. I thought your idea was great, but this game is so fast-paced. Maybe let's try something else. And being able to bring that perspective for her and tell her, like, hey, your ideas aren't stupid. It's just sometimes there's going to be situations where we're going to be under time, and we need to make decisions fast, and you need to make sure that your voice is loud enough for them to hear it. If you're right, they're not going to hear you. So how can we improve that in the group setting so everyone can hear you, especially when everyone's so focused on trying to find a solution to that problem? And she was able to come back in. And just rejoin the group after that. Yeah,
it seems like it's such a nice microcosm for what's going on in our students' heads all the time. Yeah. It just comes out through the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And they will sometimes be blurting things out, and other students will kind of look at them, and that kind of regulates the room based on what students are blurting out. And it's not in a judgmental way, it's more of like in a thinking way of like, and I'll even have students of like, hey, let's not use that spell. Like I have a student who's a wizard in the game, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna throw fireball. And then I had other group mates come up and they're like, well, if we use that's gonna set the entire forest on fire, and then more enemies can come. That's the type of thinking that is going on in the table when they're negotiating on strategies. And sometimes that the strategies of enemies coming can lead to a high emotional overwhelm. And that's where I either pause the game and let them come back, or I just let them I sit back and just kind of see what happens. Because like I said, EF happens through experience, and it best happens under emotional pressure.
Yeah. It's the more I hear you talk, the more I love. It's like this mixture of their egos aren't getting overwhelmed.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's so different from our reality.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like they dive in head first as well. So you can that's where the true magic happens, where you can actually improve the skills because they're so invested.
Exactly.
But it's removed their individuality from it.
Mm-hmm. Because they're a different character. They are not themselves in the game.
What do you think about... Would this be different if it was on a screen, meaning like a video game? Because one of the biggest pieces of concern that I hear from parents is that if they don't want their students on video games all the time.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that makes a difference of a board game versus a video game?
Yes, because this is fully social and screen-free. They are only working with worksheets, and we only have books for them to look up information in. So we have a few D&D books. Any questions that they have, I'm like, oh, where can you find this in the book? Can you show me? I actually don't know. And sometimes I'll make sure that I don't actually know, but I do know, but I want them to find the answer. I want them to initiate that. I want them to open the book and go through it. That's the difference between video games. Video games, it's more of a decision that's already made for you by an AI in the game, right?
Yeah.
In this game, it's more student-driven. It's socially driven. They're talking to each other. There's no screens whatsoever. They're actually not allowed to be on their phones during the session. And any questions that they have, unless they absolutely cannot find it in the book, they can ask me on it.
Awesome. You're crushing this, dude.
Thank you.
So we've gone through everything D&D related and how impactful that can be.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I really think this is the future of it is how do
Absolutely.
we gamify is the wrong word, but how do we give experiences to help improve not only these skills but other skills as well. Do you have any other games that come to mind that would be just as impactful in building these executive function skills?
I wouldn't say games. I would say more of other experiences and themes that aren't game-based. We could do Socratic seminars. We could do language-based games where they come in and only speak a certain language for the day. There's so many ideas that I could do. The main point that I'm looking for is collaboration, for it to have some sort of structure that challenges a student under some sort of emotional pressure for these EF skills to emerge from them.
Yeah. Tell me more about the emotional pressure, because I know a lot of us get that from athletics.
Yes.
But not every student's an athlete.
Yes, exactly. And
So yeah, tell me more about what you're thinking. Like, what type of emotional pressure? How does that look?
the emotional pressure that I am talking about is when there is a time-based activity where they have to figure it out with limited resources. That brings out a lot of emotional pressure for a lot of students because they want to do well, obviously. They want to make sure that they're doing everything that the group is doing. And they themselves have to learn to manage themselves, learn what skills that they have to produce or to add on to that they've been learning if they've been on Untapped, and which one applies to whatever skills that they're using. So for example, if we're doing like an art-based thing where they have 30 minutes to make some sort of canvas and it has to be a specific thing, that is where emotional pressure is released for a lot of them. And if there is shutdown, we can come in and help them, kind of walk them out of that because they are experiencing that emotional pressure. That emotional pressure is what we're looking for to release those EF skills.
Yeah, it's because when you hear it right away, it's like, oh my gosh, my kid's gonna get a ton of anxiety, right?
Yeah.
But it's in such a safe environment.
It's a safe, controlled environment where the whole idea is to bring those experiences to them. That way they can handle other experiences in that similar boat because they've already had it. They already know what to do in these situations. So for example, just bringing it back to D&D, if my students are in some sort of group project or they have their future first job, they know how to negotiate, they know how to listen to other people, they know how to bring their ideas alive and write it down on a piece of paper without running over anyone's sentences, without talking over anyone, without they're able to communicate with each other in a polite manner, respectfully, without letting so many emotions drive their decisions. So that is what I'm looking for those skills to transfer in any activity that we do. But some emotional pressure is good, but sometimes there isn't emotional pressure. Some kids thrive in these environments. Sometimes they do better in these environments than they do in school, and that's also great for those kids who need to strengthen their executive function skills. I actually have a few students attending the D&D program that don't attend it Untapped because their grades are amazing. They don't need academic coaching, but what they do need, they need social exposure. They need exposure to other EF skills that they might not have, that they can't get from school or from their parents or from their peers. But they can get it in our session at Untapped for D&D, and maybe any other programs that we explore to open that are all experience-based.
Yeah, we're focusing solely on executive function skills, but the social piece is massive.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that is something that when you get into the real world, especially the better technology gets, the social skills are going to become more and more important.
Absolutely.
So to get that collaborative in an environment that's safe and the game feels very real, that's, from my experience, seems to work really well for students that wouldn't do well in like a social group of like, you know, where you go around talking socially. There's something about the game and the time, the clock put on it, that seems to have a big effect on these social skills.
Absolutely. And that's where a lot of these students' true skills come out. How regulated are they? How well are they at their impulse control when someone else is talking? Are they going to talk over them? Those are the types of things that I'm looking for in the session, and I either stop it or I let it continue to see how far it goes, in the sense of, okay, they're communicating, but can they bring those EF skills? And if they can't, then I come in and anchor it down and I say, hey, there's this side of things that we haven't thought about. And I present options. I don't do the thinking for them. I just kind of ask them more shaping questions of, hey, here is a route of thinking that you could go, but here's another route. Here's another route. It's up to you what decision you think is best and what's going to be best for your group. And that is something that I want to find in any other experience-based program that we create, is what can we do to bring these skills out and also have it be a group setting. It doesn't have to be a game. It could be anything. I would love to bring in some sort of Socratic seminar practice, because I know a lot of students need that help in school. But also, what if they want to do debate club and they don't have the skills to do that? What if they want to go be a lawyer one day? They need the skills. They need to build those skills now to know how to talk in front of people, to be able to be comfortable in that sense. So it's basically taking everything that students want to be or want to learn or need in the future, and bringing those into those experience-based programs, depending on the students' interests.
Yeah, and we know ADHD has an interest-based nervous system, so that's where you really do good work. I want to hit on something. I want to bring something back to light that you said, because it's so impactful. Neurodiverse, not like the ability to self-regulate under pressure is a superpower.
Absolutely.
And you kind of brushed over that. I want to take a deep dive into that, because self-regulation for all of us is one of the hardest things.
Absolutely. It's really hard when you're fuming, when you're upset at something and you're in the middle of a meeting, or you're in the middle of talking to somebody, or it's hard sometimes. But being able to have those tools available to you, and understanding that you don't always have to be on. You can take a break. You can come back. You can go take a walk. Because there's nothing more important than knowing that you can go take a break. You can always come back. Whatever you're working on will always be there. Emotions are kind of like a roller coaster. They're never going to be linear. And I think it's important for kids at a young age to learn how to regulate. That way they become better adults for the future. So we can move forward as a society to help others in either regulation or just moving forward in groups, moving forward in meetings, moving forward with other people socially. And it also provides more connection when we're all regulated.
Yeah, there's so much research around, the calm is contagious. Like when one person's jacked up, it brings it to everybody else in the group.
Yes.
And, this is another one thing you and I see with college students struggling is they can't regulate. They just write to their phone the second they feel uncomfortable. So the ability to sit with the hard emotions. And
yes.
I know as a professional, there's so many times where I get on stage for a speech or something and I want to get out of there more than anything in the world, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, how do you calm it back down? And we can do a lot of that through these games.
Absolutely. These games, experiences, whatever we want to do with these, that is a perfect opportunity to have that experience for the student and for them to be able to self-regulate in that moment. And if they can't self-regulate, we have a safe environment for them to do that. Whether that's through movement, whether that's through box breathing, whether that's through meditation, through maybe drawing, just learning different ways of regulating for them is going to be the most important for the future.
Yeah. The last piece of executive function that I see so many struggles with is prioritizing. Right now, for a lot of our students, a 5-point math assignment feels the same as a midterm. This has been one of the things we see students using AI is when everything feels like it's the same length, everything feels just as big. And I hear you speak a lot to learning how to prioritize as well.
Absolutely. Prioritizing is the number one thing in any experience-based program, especially when it comes, the first order of prioritization in my mind is the person, is you. Are you ready to come to it? Are you ready to experience this? Are you ready to solve this? If not, do you need to go take a walk? Do you need to take a breather? What does your body need in order for you to solve this solution? The number one priority should be you, and then from there, once you're regulated, you can start prioritizing slowly but surely whatever we need to do.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, what you're doing is so inspiring, and again, the amount of growth and development we see with students through this is pretty inspiring. So thank you for walking us through that.
Yeah.
If you want to learn more about our D&D program, it's on our website at untappedlearning.com under the summer programs. And if people have questions, where can they find you?
They can email me on rguzman@gmail.com. Or no, sorry.
To your Untapped Learning?
Yeah, rguzman@untappedlearning.com.
Awesome.
Thank
you again.
Thank you.